On a week when the Republican Speaker from California is ousted, we talk with the former Democratic Speaker from California.
Every card that was played against him, he had dealt to his opponents.
An exclusive sit-down with Nancy Pelosi.
How would you real succinctly describe Kevin McCarthy's legacy as Speaker? Who do you think is going to be the next Speaker?
I know who I'm supporting.
Plus, Republican Young Kim with a big endorsement on our show after being on the floor as McCarthy went down.
Both parties, Democrats and Republicans alike, we were in shock.
All of this on a week when California mourned one U.S. Senator.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
And welcomed a new one. And on a week when L.A. eliminated cash bail in most instances, we sit down with controversial DA George Gascon.
Do you think that cash bail is unconstitutional?
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
L.A. Mayor Karen Bass honoring Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi at the L.A. Mayor's residence.
You make me wonder, woman.
The event featuring music from John Legend, an orchestra,
Iron Fist in a Gucci glove,
and a tribute video. It's on the same day where Pelosi helped lead the farewell service in San Francisco to her longtime friend and neighbor, Senator Diane Feinstein.
Diane Feinstein is our forever mayor.
And it comes just days after Pelosi's successor as Speaker lost his job.
Madam Speaker, how are you? Elex Michaelson.
We discuss all of it in this exclusive sit-down at the L.A. Mayor's residence, Getty House.
Madam Speaker, welcome to The Issue Is.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Diane Feinstein, I know there's like work friends and there's friends.
Yes.
She was both for you.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what she meant to you personally?
Well, Diane Feinstein was an iconic figure in San Francisco and then in the state. And she was really not political, not partisan in any way. She just knew what she believed in, what she wanted to get done. We were, shall we say, in different places on the political spectrum, but we were neighbors across the street. So we were
literally neighbors across the street.
Literally neighbors across the street. I saw her beautiful hydrangeas that she took great pride in, and then we'd see her walk the dog by the house. So we had a lot of interaction. But nonetheless, to get just to who she is, she was very values-based, very sincere, and as I say, not political, although I don't think political is, I think that's a compliment too.
Right.
Just over the years as mayor and then as United States Senator, she made us proud every day. She, I've said it today, that she was mayor so long and so powerfully that when she was no longer mayor, children said, when other men were running for office, can a man be mayor of San Francisco?
Right. Yeah. And you described her as the forever mayor of San Francisco.
Forever mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah.
If you were to talk to Gavin Newsom, our governor, when he became mayor, they would have to get ready for every time she came home because she would have, there's graffiti on a trash can or the street isn't clean, whatever it happened to be, she was forever mayor.
What do you think is the most important lesson about leadership that we can learn from her life?
Well, from her life, and really it's a lesson for everyone. Know your why. Know why you are there. What is your purpose in doing this? Because it's very difficult. It's a big sacrifice in terms of time and family and the rest. But if you know your why and all the attacks you're going to take, it's worth it.
What's your why?
My why are the children. I have my husband and I, Paul, we have 5 children, and just the idea that 1 in 5 children in America went to sleep hungry at night or lived in poverty, it just, again, I just couldn't, it just provoked, it got me from the kitchen to the Congress.
Right.
Because it was, what can we do about that for the children, always for the children. That was my why.
Obviously, this has been an extraordinary week in politics. Yeah. Kevin McCarthy says that you essentially broke a promise to him to keep Democrats with him if there was a vote against him. Is that not true? Talk to us about what happened with him.
No, I have no promise to him. Our Democratic members made their decision. They made a decision that, first of all, let's just say how this works.
Yeah.
Each party elects its speaker. You win the majority, you nominate the speaker, and you, from your party, elect the speaker. In all the years I've been there, 36 years, I remember one person crossing over to vote for the other party, and then he changed parties right at the same time. But it doesn't happen. So I don't think he could possibly have said that. He may have said he was disappointed that he lost. He thought there could be some protection of the institution.
Yeah.
But our members were very concerned about January 6th because he said the president was responsible, and then he went and kissed his ring. They were concerned about agreeing to a debt ceiling agreement on which we would then proceed with our appropriations, and he walked away from that. They were concerned about the impeachment of the president. There was no respect for his respect for the institution. In other words, and my thing was always the integrity of the institution is something that's very important to me. But if you don't respect the institution, then don't expect us to bail you out.
What do you make of his move to move you out of your office? Essentially, the first thing that happens, they move you out of your office.
I don't know if he did or the new, whoever did it. That's so incidental. I'm more concerned about the fact that they're trying to cut 30% out of our food for children and women, infant children. I'm more concerned they want to take 70 to 80% out of what we're doing for LIHEAP, low-income energy for mostly low-income seniors. That's what I'm concerned about. The office means nothing to me.
How would you real succinctly describe Kevin McCarthy's legacy as Speaker?
The incredibly shrinking speakership. He did that to win the votes, took 15 votes, and obviously he was making promises along the way that were very hard. Every card that was played against him, he had dealt to his opponents. But I'm not here, I don't spend a whole lot of time talking about him or the former occupant of the White House. What we talk about is our children, our purpose, what we have to do to win, and to try to do so in a way that is unifying for our country. We just can't be dividing all the time. We have to be unifying for our country, and again, to try to find bipartisanship, transparency, accountability. That's why we go to Congress.
And last question on this. Are you concerned about what happens next? Where do you think it goes from here? Are you concerned about funding the government, funding Ukraine, everything else that comes next? Could it be worse for Democrats now?
What do you mean worse for Democrats?
Meaning, it
isn't our responsibility to elect the Speaker of the House.
Right.
So it isn't, whatever happens is maybe worse, but it isn't, it's of their own making. People are saying, well, why don't the Democrats vote for... That's not how it works.
Right.
They win, they choose but they have to be able to choose, because say you thought it was okay to say, well, there should have been 10 Democrats to vote. Do you know how long that would last?
Yeah.
Not 10 days.
Right.
Then they'd say, well, we don't want a speaker who has somebody from the other side, nor would I ever want to be speaker with Republican votes. Well, that's not what this is. It's not about a person in power. It's about the speakership, the second in line to the president, important power as a legislator. And your party has won the election. Your party chooses the speaker. The Ukraine situation is something that is so irresponsible for them to walk away from. The Ukrainians have been so courageous for their own democracy, but they're fighting for our democracy and all democracy as well. The rape, the kidnapping, the rest of that has happened by the brutality of the Russian soldiers at the direction of Vladimir Putin. So this is a real assault on our children, our decency, our democracy, and the rest. And we have a moral responsibility to make sure we're doing our share, as the other countries are doing their share.
Who do you think is going to be the next speaker?
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
One would think the next person in line, Steve Scalise, he's the leader, the number 2 person. He's highly respected in his community and in the Congress.
And lastly, tonight you're celebrated by Mayor Karen Bass, who I know is a good friend of yours. What does she mean to you, and what does this honor here tonight mean to you?
Well, for, the honor that Karen Bass is bestowing on me this evening is, it's so much. I'm like, Karen, why are you doing this? Well, because you did this, that, and that. Karen Bass is a remarkable figure. I know that the people of Los Angeles know that they elected her mayor. But I can tell you from the standpoint of watching her legislate and lead in the Congress of the United States, we're talking about a very special person. And so for her to be honoring me in this way just is overwhelming to me. And I accept it on behalf of all of my members who made everything possible. It's not about me, it's about us. But I'm so happy for Los Angeles that they have such a... I tell her that. I say, you know, my father was mayor, my brother was mayor, so I know about the job that mayors do.
Sure.
And I said, most people know who the President of the United States is and who the mayor is of their city or town. The rest of us are sort of in a fog somewhere in between there, but they know who the mayor is, and that they would choose her, and she has built this rapport with them, and then the rapport with the other mayors. Just see the synergy of all of that. This is a leader where you have a vision about where you want to take your city and your knowledge of the issues that are challenging, whether they're homelessness or hunger, whatever it happens to be, and a strategic thinker about how to get things done, how to bring people together, and then the values of it all. That's Karen Bass. She's a leader.
Well, I know she loves you.
I love her.
And it means a lot for her that you're here tonight, and it means a lot for us that you're on our show.
I appreciate
Thank you so much,
Thank
Madam
you.
Speaker. Thanks
My
for your
pleasure.
leadership
Hopefully
and
I'll
service
see you
to our
another
country.
time. Thank you.
you very much.
Thank you so much.
Up next, the Republican view from Congresswoman Young Kim in our studio. But we go to break with music from that Pelosi celebration in Hancock Park. Here's John Legend.
When I'm lost, when I'm low, how do you always know? Always right there to save me at the end of my road.
I made history, didn't I?
Bakersfield's Kevin McCarthy did make history this week as the first Speaker of the House ever to be ousted by his colleagues when 8 Republicans joined every Democrat to vote him out. Joining us now in studio to talk about that is a member of the Republican Congress, Congresswoman Young Kim from here in Southern California. Welcome back to The Issue Is.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Take us inside the caucus, because we saw publicly Patrick McHenry's anger as he just put the gavel down. We know he's very close with Kevin McCarthy. What was it like inside there, and were there people screaming at each other?
Well, instead of screaming at each other, you saw when the gavel came down and when the vote actually took to pass the motion to vacate, there was dead silence. I mean, I was in the room and I could hear the pin drop because both parties, Democrats and Republicans alike, we were in shock. We never thought that we will come to this point. For what? For putting country first? And so can you blame Patrick McHenry for being upset and frustrated? Because as I am too, and we really need to get back to governing, and that means we need to put our house in order, get past the politics, stop playing politics right now, because politics doesn't give us anywhere. And we need to start governing, and that's what I'm focused on right now.
What did people say to Matt Gaetz in that meeting?
I wasn't at the place, because look where Matt Gaetz was standing. He was among the Democrats. He needed to rely on 208 of the Democrats to oust Kevin McCarthy out. I didn't know what the conversation going on over there was. But again, they were in shock just looking at across the chamber, looking at my Democratic colleagues that I have very good relationships with, that they didn't think that this will come to that point. They thought we can get to a place where we can find consensus and continue the job that we were charged to do.
Next week is time to elect a new speaker. We know that Jim Jordan wants the job. We know that Steve Scalise wants the job. I interviewed your colleague from Southern California, Darrell Issa, this week. Here's what he said in terms of who he's backing.
I'm going to go for the 1-2 punch, and the 1-2 punch is Jim Jordan for Speaker, Steve Scalise continuing to be leader and dealing with chemotherapy and the cancer that he's dealing with, but keeping this team that generally has done the work well.
I know who I'm supporting. This has to be somebody that have proven track record of delivering results, putting our country first, putting our conference united. And I believe that's Steve Scalise.
Steve Scalise is who you think it is, not Jim Jordan. Do you think that Steve Scalise has 218 votes right now?
We'll find out. That's my biggest question.
Why Scalise over Jordan?
Why Scalise over Jordan? Yeah. Again, like I said, he has proven results. He has put America first before anything, and he has proven time and time again. He has a team builder. He has a consensus builder. He has worked on policy that I align with.
So some news right here on The Issue Is, Young Kim for Steve Scalise. Interesting to hear that here on this show. So you're not backing Donald Trump for Speaker?
Well, it has to come from our conference.
Yeah.
And someone I know that has worked with the members of Congress who are in office, who understand how the House rules work, how to come up with the rules and coalesce behind those things.
There is a move by some that Matt Gaetz should be expelled from the conference. Newt Gingrich, the former speaker, suggesting that. Do you agree with that?
Again, there's got to be accountability for being one of those who are on the far right that is focused on dividing our conference instead of putting our conference together. All options should be on the table to discuss that matter, but that is not up to me.
Be clear, you would be open to the idea of expelling Matt Gaetz, it sounds like.
Well, somebody has to do more than just slapping on the face and say, that's bad, don't do it again. Yeah. We got to make sure that doesn't happen again and one of the criteria that I would like to see is obviously we need to change the House rules so that not one person can bring the motion to vacate as we've seen. And that's not good for America, and it could happen to any speaker from this point on.
Something else that's not good for America is the idea of a government shutdown. Are you worried that we're less likely to come to an agreement after this, that a government shutdown is more likely after this in a matter of weeks?
We already lost a week. Next week, we'll be focused on electing a speaker. Until we have a new speaker, we cannot govern. We cannot bring the bills on the House floor. We cannot pass any bills out of the House floor. We're going to be looking at, it's, to me personally, if you're asking, inevitable that we may have to work with another continuing resolution. But do we want to get there? No. I want to finish the job right now before we need to discuss the next CR.
Do you think it's realistic to get more funding for Ukraine?
We need to make sure that the accountability and transparency are answered before we send any more money, equipment, or anything else related to Ukraine.
So you're open to the idea, if you're comfortable with the plan, you're not somebody who's saying no more money for Ukraine at all, ever?
Oh, I'm not that hardcore yes or no.
Right, which is something that Jim Jordan has suggested, who, of course, is running for Speaker. He says if he's Speaker, no more money for Ukraine. All right, this is all very serious stuff. We always like to end with something fun. And I got to say, my favorite thing about you, among other things, a lot of favorite things about you, is you're a graduate of the University of Southern California.
Fight on.
As am I. Fight on to you. Are you enjoying the football season? Are you enjoying Caleb Williams? How do you feel about everything right now?
I'm sure USC is doing well compared to other seasons that I've watched. So, I cannot predict what the final result of the season will be, but I'm glad that USC is doing well, and I hope that we continue to win.
Well, I predict a national championship, and I hope I'll see you there as we cheer on the Trojans. So we're playing music on this show. This is Tusk we're ending with, which, of course, is Fleetwood Mac with the University of Southern California Marching Band. Fight on. Congresswoman Young Kim, fight on is something you're going to need to do next week. So best of luck to you in Congress. Thanks for sharing your views here on The Issue Is. Back with more right after this.
Do you think that cash bail is unconstitutional?
You know, I believe that how much money you have in your bank account should not determine whether you're going to get out or not.
So is that a yes? Do you think that
I
cash bail is
personally believe
unconstitutional?
that cash bail is unconstitutional.
LA County District Attorney George Gascon sitting down with us for an extensive interview this week. Due to a judge's order, LA County essentially eliminated cash bail, except for the most serious of cases. In a clip that's since gone viral, I asked Gascon to respond to critics who say this will make residents here less safe.
I don't believe that long-term this is going to make the county less safe. I think it's going to make us safer because it's going to create more room in our county jail to hold the people that are dangerous.
What do you think is the biggest misconception out there about you?
I think that the biggest misconception about me is that I don't care about public safety. You know, I think people don't know, most people do not know, I was in policing for 3 decades. I've spent most of my adult life thinking about the safety of our community. I care deeply about the safety of our community, and I think that people often, because of what they hear, they say, well, he doesn't care about us, he doesn't care about the safety, and that's so far from the truth. It's so disconnected with what I am, what I do, what I believe in.
Why do you think that perception exists?
Look, politics are brutal.
You can watch the full interview right now at youtube.com/Elex Michaelson. And you can listen to extended conversations with all of our guests, including George Gascon, streaming right now by searching for The Issue Is, wherever you stream your podcasts. We'll be right back.
I will. Congratulations. Congratulations.
LaFonza Butler, sworn in as California's newest senator this week after a career fighting for women's rights and union rights in non-elective offices. The big question going forward, how will Senator Butler impact the upcoming race for that seat? More on that next week on The Issue Is, but we wrap things up this week with a somber image from San Francisco of Senator Feinstein's casket lying in state. Feinstein's longtime dear friend, Nancy Pelosi, escorting Feinstein's daughter to pay their respects. This is all inside a city hall that meant so much to all of them. Our thanks to you for watching, and our thanks to Senator Feinstein for decades of service to the Golden State. We'll see you next week.